What do people usually ask you about your pottery stuff?
Well, you've asked a lot of the often asked questions about the kiln. Is it oven-proof? Is there any lead in it? That's the big question. We have no lead in our stuff.
Okay. What made you decide to do this instead of a regular old plug it in and pay the hydro bill?
Oh, you mean the kiln?
Yeah.
It's just something about the effect is so. It's an emotional thing for me. I really love the process. It's wonderful. It's very quiet, dynamic.
Did you see one first?
Yeah, and I studied. I did an apprenticeship in England.
You did?
Yep, and there was a wood-fired kiln there, so I sort of knew the
That's
technique.
what you wanted.
I didn't know how to fire a gas kiln and electric. I've only recently taught myself how to do that. But also the effect, the finished effect is really incomparable. You can't get it any other way.
Do you mean the effect on the pots?
On the pots, yeah. Particularly the pots that haven't had any glaze applied to them. Because the thing about wood ash is that it's chemically a basic component of glass. So in a wood kiln, you're burning wood, you have all this ash floating around, and the pots are molten, which means they're sticky. And the ash lands on the pot and will form what's known as a vapor glaze. A little bit like salt glazing, if you've ever heard of that.
That's what that is in Maine, salt glazing.
So wood fire can only be, the wood fire effect can really only be got in a wood kiln. I really like the effect. So it's an aesthetic choice more than anything.
And are all the pots identical then? I mean,
no, far from it. I mean, it's like as identical as any two leaves. They appear to have a certain quality, but up close, it's always a little something.
Yes.
Because of the size of the ashes that fell on them. And
exactly, where they've sat in the kiln, which direction they've sat in, what kind of atmosphere the flame had when it went by, Flames in a wood kiln are continually oxidizing and reducing flames, and chemical reactions which are taking place in the pot are very sensitive to those kinds of environments. When you're talking about oxides, calcium oxide, potassium oxide, that's what pots and glass is composed of. Well, they can be reduced to their base metal state or oxidized, which means they get another oxygen and oxidize it, and it's a totally different look. So the famous celadons, have you ever heard that term? Celadon, which is a green, comes from iron, which is reduced. In the reduced state, it's blue, and oxidized is yellow, and the blue and yellow back and forth create the green. Very interesting.
And this, in a regular kiln, if you put in these are unglazed pots? All of them are unglazed?
No, not all unglazed, but I do leave a lot of surfaces unglazed.
So on one pot, you will only glaze part of it?
Right, exactly, so that I can get the wood fire personality on that pot.
So you can't really buy two identical pots then?
No.
I mean, they will be the same shape and look pretty much the same.
Right, so if we're making dinner plates, we'll fire them in the same spot in the kiln if we can, and put the same glaze maybe on the inside, and maybe the same decoration. So the insides will look very similar, but if you were to turn it over, it would be quite different.
Really? Very interesting.
It's interesting, and really, it's the way life is. It's the way the real world is. This whole idea of having a set of dishes, every single one exactly the same, industry